so many of the problems that amateur and semi-professional and even professional players have. Hi, welcome to today's vlog. This vlog has kind of happened over a couple of days and primarily due to an issue with my iMac. If you're interested in the iMac story, then stick around. If you're interested in the clarification for the Silent Saxophone Practice, skip to here and you can watch that bit. But quickly about the iMac. So way back last summer, I like new software, so I installed the beta version of High Sierra, mainly to see if all the studio stuff, particularly the sound card and everything else, would be compatible with that particular version of High Sierra, the new upgraded operating system. I installed it, Logic didn't work as I expected, rolled back, everything went on as normal. When I tried to upgrade when it came out in the autumn, it wouldn't work. But then they issued an update for Final Cut Pro, which is what I do all my video editing on, and I updated some of the one on the MacBook Pro, which worked fine. The problem was I couldn't then use the libraries from the MacBook Pro on the iMac, which created a huge problem. So it kind of got to this critical point where I had to do an upgrade. So I took the iMac into the Apple Store on Thursday, and I'll go back there and take you through that story. Thursday. It is currently, I can't get used to this either, it's currently 19 degrees Celsius cooler than it was at its height last week. The sun is still shining, but it is cold today. I am a big fan of this time of year, spring. Now, like I say, it's colder today than it was this time last week, but I do like the way the trees are just turning from blossom to green. The days are getting lighter and brighter, and I just think everybody seems to be in a slightly happier mood. Well, great, thank you very much. Always find the day goes a bit better after the second coffee, never the first. The first is just to wake me up, the second coffee is what gets my day going. I always find trying to remember my bank telephone number security impossible. It's always so hard. Anyway, at the Apple shop, let's get this fixed. It takes like 11 hours. So of course, with it being my main work machine, I can't afford 11 hours. So they couldn't fix it. They managed to wipe the drive, but then they can't get High Sierra to install. So I'm going to leave the Mac with them and then see what happens. Bit of a shame, and I really can't be without it for more than a few days. Back in Cambridge, back at the Apple shop, they just emailed me to tell me they have fixed my iMac, so I need to go back and pick it up again. Thing is, I'm just going to spend the rest of the day transferring files because I can't run time capsule. So there you go. Long story short, I managed to use Migration Assistant, got everything back as per usual. Very, very happy with Apple's customer service. Really, really impressed, and very impressed with Millie at the Apple store in Cambridge, who, you know, I was just very impressed all around, as I usually am with Apple, so pretty good going. Anyway, I want to clarify this vlog I did nearly 2 years ago now about Silent Saxophone Practice, because it's had a few views, about 10,000, and there's some confusion and some strange comments going in there. People aren't really quite understanding what I'm getting at. Let's just roll that little bit of the vlog. This is known to my students at Cambridge Saxophone as the Garzone subtone, because I got the exercise idea from George Garzone. And it is literally aiming to play 99% of air and just 1% of the note. And it's a good idea to start around about F, okay? So the confusion seems to stem from this idea that you need to be able to hear your tone when you're practicing. And yes, that's true for some of it, but for this exercise you don't, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to play with as little pressure as possible. You're trying to get to that perfect point. Think of it, if you drive, like the biting point of clutch. I realise that if you're not in Europe and you're in the States and you don't use a manual gearbox, you're not going to understand what I'm getting at, but it's that kind of idea. It's just that perfect point of where the embouchure should be in order to get the notes to sound. George Garzone gave it to me, but I've also heard Eric Alexander talking about it via Johnny Griffin, and he said that Johnny Griffin told him to play subtone throughout the whole register of the instrument. And Garzone says that he practices this to be able to work on his tone, because you're trying to always get to that point where you're playing with the lower lip relaxed. So many of the problems that amateur and semi-professional and even professional players have with their saxophone tones, squeaks, flat notes, sharp notes, all this kind of stuff, all comes back to what you're doing with your lower lip and your embouchure. And it's just playing with kind of 95% air, 2% note, 3% spit and gurgle, okay? Because it forces you to get the corners back on your embouchure, to really relax this lower lip, and to think about breathing from the diaphragm, which is so important when playing the saxophone. And that is the idea. You're trying to back off so much so that then you play with the same embouchure pressure, no, not pressure really, the same feeling in the mouth, in the corners of the mouth, and with the lower lip being nice and relaxed in order to sound the note by pushing more air from the diaphragm. So let me demonstrate that to you. And that's the idea. What you're trying to do by doing silent saxophone practice, in inverted commas, very, very quiet saxophone practice, really enables you to keep these corners back, the lip relaxed, and then kind of work in other situations where you can blow full volume. But what you're training yourself to do is to play with less pressure, which is so, so important. And we can trace that back because players like Johnny Griffin, Eric Alexander, George Garzone are talking about doing that. It's not a Forshaw original, nor do I intend it to be. That's why I credit those people doing it. I hope that exercise helps. I hope it clarifies some of the misunderstanding. I understand this is YouTube, and some people will not get it no matter how many times I go around, and will consider themselves experts and have to. I'm not going to go any further on that. Final thing I need to do, apart from checking the presentation for tomorrow, is to just knock a chart together for Alabama, which is not too difficult because it's basically one chord with a tag at the end. I didn't realise that Coltrane, when I saw it in the film that I talked about here, Coltrane actually wrote his composition of Alabama to the eulogy that Dr. King gave for the murdered girls at Birmingham. I knew it was connected to Alabama. I thought Coltrane just composed a lament. I didn't realise he'd actually used Dr. King's eulogy as the basis of his composition, which is really quite an interesting thing to do. I'm still trying to find it. This app here, this is it, I think. Yeah, Good Notes it's called on the iPad. Basically, I could use Sibelius. I've decided not to, because I just want to write it out by hand very quickly. So I go plain paper. I can choose, as you can see on there, manuscript paper, create the notebook. And this is not going to work, it's going to be really slow. Here you go. So basically I can just jot out as if I was going to do it on hand. The beauty of doing it on the iPad versus doing it by hand is I won't lose the piece of paper because it'll always be on the iPad provided it works on there. Anyway, I think that's an appropriate place as I finish this off to say thank you very much for watching today's vlog. There'll be no more vlog now until Wednesday. We'll be back with a Q&A, so please do send me your questions and I will hopefully see you. I've got loads of new ideas to share with you. I just need the time to sit down and flesh them out and the encouragement to do so as well. So thank you very much for watching. Check out my last vlog here. This is what I was up to this time in last year. And don't forget, actually, let's make it 2 years ago. There we go. And this is how you subscribe. And don't forget to check out my Patreon page for lots of new stuff. I'm going to stick some new stuff up there tonight. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.